Hello. I am so grateful that you're here with me today, as we are going to talk about food facts versus food fiction, what really fuels your health. There are so many food facts that I could go over today, and we are really just going to touch on one big one and then kind of several subtopics of this same um, food fact fiction issue. But I wanted to start with this talk started growing in my mind many years ago when I saw how food affected the life of myself and the life of my family and my children. And so I want to start for just a second and share a little bit of my story. My name is Katie Barngrover. I am a former math teacher turned functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. My journey here to being a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner began a long time ago, way before I got certified, back when I was preparing to go to medical school. I was driven by a desire to help people actually get well and not just treat symptoms with prescriptions, but to really understand what their body needs in order to thrive. Years later, after lots of personal struggles with miscarriages, with fatigue, and then watching my family suffer from unexplained health and behavior issues, I saw firsthand how much food could make a difference in our lives. And so this passion to heal my family became a mission. And today I want to help you rethink what you've been told about food, especially about fat. So we've been told for decades that fat is the enemy, that it clogs our arteries, that it causes us to have weight gain, and that it should be minimized at all questions. How many of you have heard any of those lies? Right, lots of us have, right? So what if I told you that that was never backed by strong science? What if fat, the right kinds of fat, aren't actually harmful at all? Maybe that they're actually critical for energy, for metabolism, for brain function, and for weight loss. So, our government guidelines have told us over the years to choose lean proteins, to go low fat, fat free, and to avoid saturated fat. The American Heart Association actually still pushes these ideas. But these recommendations are largely based on observational studies. These studies show correlation, not causation. And this simply means that they show when two things trend in the same direction, but they cannot show whether or not something caused the other thing to happen. And then add to that that the data was cherry picked, meaning that they didn't collect all of the data and share all of the data with the public. They shared only that data which supported their conclusion that saturated fat was bad. The science is actually very clear, though. Your cells are made of fat. Your brain is made of fat. And your hormones are made from fat. Cholesterol isn't your enemy. It's the raw material your body uses to create all your hormones: estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, vitamin D, which is actually a hormone, not a vitamin, cortisol, serotonin. Pathways in your brain come from cholesterol. When we deprive ourselves of fat, we deprive our bodies of the very tools that they need to function. Here's the truth. Eating fat doesn't make you fat. Eating too many carbs and sugars makes you fat. When you eat carbs, your blood sugar rises. Your body releases insulin, which is designed to push that sugar into your blood cells. But when your cells are full or they are already inflamed, insulin then tells your body to store that sugar as fat. This creates a cycle of blood sugar highs and then crashes, which cause cravings. Many of us call that state hangry. How many of you have ever heard of being hangry? Yeah, that's the combination of hungry and angry. But when you eat protein and fat, your blood sugar stays stable, your energy is steady, your hunger goes down. And when your body is trained to burn fat for fuel and not just to burn sugar, you become what we call fat adapted, which means you can go hours without feeling desperate for a snack. Now, just a disclaimer, a small percentage of the population might experience blood sugar spikes from a very high fat intake. And a lot of adults, especially around menopause and andropause, can struggle to digest fats and proteins efficiently. If that's you, that does not mean that fat is bad for you. It simply means, or it might mean, that you need digestive support, like targeted enzyme supplements, in order to help break down those nutrients properly. Okay, so third part of this myth is that all fats are created equal, except they're not. There are healthy and there are unhealthy fats. The real villains are called industrial seed oils, canola, soybean, corn, and cottonseed oil. These highly processed oils are unstable, they oxidize easily, which means they go rancid, and they contribute to inflammation and cellular damage in the body. Compare these fats to fats like butter, coconut oil, tallow or lard, extra virgin olive oil. These are stable, nourishing fats. They've been used by healthy populations for generations. When our cells are built from clean, natural fats, they function very well. When they're built from damaged, oxidized oils, they malfunction. And so do you. There has been ample research to show seed oils contribute to metabolic dysfunction, which is just the energy production and utilization issues within the body. Seed oils are a recent but toxic addition to our food system, only for the last 100 years. They came from companies who used to produce oil for lamps. Once electricity took off, these companies needed a new market for their oil because they couldn't sell it for lighting homes anymore. Procter and Gamble had cottonseed oil. This is one example of many. They discovered that they could make this cottonseed oil look semi-solid. Sorry, they could make it semi-solid, which made it look like lard, which was the most common fat of the era. This hydrogenated process, which is what made it semi-solid, um, made it available for them to sell, and they sold it to housewives as a less expensive option than lard, and they called it Crisco. Now, the hydrogenation process produces loads of inflammation in our bodies. Now, this image shows an experiment with rats, and I want to credit The Ancestral Diet Revolution, which is an amazing book by Dr. Chris Kenobi. And they did a study on rats. Chris didn't. He borrowed this from another study for his book. But the rat on the left was fed bleached cottonseed oil, and the rat on the right was fed butter. The butter rat grew at a normal rate, and the cottonseed oil rat was stunted. He suffered hair loss and emaciation, and eventually he developed some serious eye conditions. So one of the problems with seed oils is how much they oxidize, which is just another word for going rancid. I want you to think of oxidation like broken glass or rust. It tears or eats up whatever it touches. Unsaturated fatty acids in vegetable oils are much more easily damaged by high heat, and they are more susceptible to oxidation and to the production of free radicals. They enter the body already broken, and they begin to tear up the body as soon as they get into the body. Companies have to deodorize and bleach these oils in order to cover up how rancid they are, or we would never be able to swallow them. They smell and taste so disgusting. Now, saturated fats have a lot of benefits and not a whole lot of detriments. The saturated fats don't oxidize like the seed oils, for one. There are two types of saturated fats that I want to discuss for a minute: butter and then coconut oil. Butter is one of our very few dietary sources of butyric acid, which is one of the most beneficial short chain fats that we can have. It serves as food for colon cells, it helps protect against colon cancer, and it fights oxidative stress and reduces inflammation. Coconut oil, another saturated fat, is filled with medium chain fatty acids known as MCTs. That's a buzzword going around today. These MCTs head to the liver for energy, which reduces the likelihood that they will be stored as fat later. So what we want to do is shift our fat consumption to more fat, but to more healthy fats. Stay away from seed oils. Now, fats that have high linoleic acid content are seed oils. Linoleic acid content, also known as omega-6 fatty acids, are necessary for our bodies. However, the body requires a very specific ratio in order for us to maintain health. How many of you have heard of omega-3 fatty acids? Right, lots of us have, right? These are very common fats from fish, and we are supposed to get lots of these omega-3s. But one of the reasons that we're supposed to get lots of these omega-3s is that the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is very precise. If we eat seed oils, you can see that your omega-6 or your linoleic acid content is going to go way up. Look at safflower oil. It has a 75% linoleic acid content, which means it is a way higher ratio of linoleic acid or omega-6 to omega-3s. Corn oil, 58%. Okay. Even peanut oil has 32%, or canola oil has 21%. Way, way too high omega-6 ratio. So we can't really eat enough fish in order to balance out these fats we get from seed oils. Now, I'm not saying don't eat fat, but what I am saying is we need to choose natural healthy fats that already have the perfect ratio of omega-6 to omega-3s. Rather than trying to just increase our omega-6, or sorry, our omega-3, we also need to decrease our omega-6. Now, I want you to notice that there are two types of fats that I've been talking about. We've been talking about beef tallow and we've been talking about lard, okay? And they're both on these graphs twice. So lard, and this CAFO is corn and, well, I don't actually know what the CFO stands for. I just know that these are corn and soy-fed pigs. Okay, notice how this is 20% linoleic acid. But notice over here, when it says ancestrally raised lard or pigs, it has 2%. Here's the reason why. Pigs are monogastric animals. And when they are fed corn and soy, because they have only one stomach, they cannot detoxify the levels of omega-6 from the corn and the soy. And so that high level of omega-6 ends up in their fat, and then that fat becomes lard, and then we eat that lard and we get too much omega-6 ourselves. Okay. But now I want you to notice that beef is also on here twice. Beef shows up here at 3%. These are corn and soy fed cows. And then beef also shows up down here at 2%. Couple things to know about beef. All beef in the United States start out grass fed, and then they might be corn finished for a few months, up to 6 months, I think. But aside from that, beef are also ruminant animals, which means that they have multiple stomachs. And those multiple stomachs allow them to detoxify corn and soy so much better. And so they actually end up with almost the perfect ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 within their bodies, even though they're eating the same diet as the pigs are once they get on corn and soy. Now, lard from corn-fed pigs is still way better than safflower or grapeseed or corn oil. So don't shy away from lard if that's the only fat alternative you have over safflower or sunflower oil. But beef tallow and butter are going to be way better than pork lard. Or chicken fat for that matter, because chickens are also monogastric animals. They are not going to be able to detoxify the omega-6 from the corn and the soy as easily as ruminant animals are. Okay, so another problem, we need protein for our bodies, but again, we need fat. Proteins become amino acids in our body, and those are used to make every single structure in our bodies. They are used to create cell membranes, which are the membranes using fatty acids, and they use those in every one of the 30 plus trillion cells in our body. They also use fats for energy when they convert those fats, when our body converts those fats into ketones. Now, if we have healthy metabolisms, when glucose and glucagon run out, our bodies can switch to using ketones without any problem. Our body makes ketones from fat. Our bodies have done this since we were born or even in the womb. But oftentimes as we age, we eat so much glucose, so much carbohydrates, our bodies have forgotten how to convert fat into ketones. One of the fastest ways that you can wreck your metabolism is to restrict your fat and replace that fat with carbohydrates. Now, carbs provide energy, but nothing else to the body. They provide no structural benefit to the body at all. And the body can actually get all the energy it needs from fats and proteins, from fat specifically through ketones. Now, I want to be really careful. I am not talking about ketoacidosis here. I'm talking about ketones. Ketoacidosis is a life-threatening condition in type 1 diabetics where sugars in the body get too high because they don't have enough insulin. I am talking about ketones for fuel, where the byproduct is the digestion of fats. Sorry about that. The body won't make ketones if fats are filled with toxins. So if there is no usable fat, the body is going to send out a 911 instituting a craving for carbohydrates, asking you to eat carbohydrates quickly in order to get your blood sugar up. The quickest way for the body to get your energy up would be to break down fats in the body. But if those fats are toxic, or if you have habitually high glucose present, the body is going to resist turning fat into ketones and is going to demand that you eat more carbohydrates. It's going to make you hangry. Being hangry, though, is a sign that we are not burning ketones and instead that you may have metabolic damage. This damage is going to keep the body from burning its own fat. So we get hangry, which asks us to eat carbohydrates. Now, when we eat carbs, our sugar goes up, our blood sugar goes up, it crashes, and then we crave sugar again. While we are in this hangry state of relatively low blood sugar and we have no ketones available, or we're out of practice using them, we can have a whole lot of symptoms. Clearly, these are not desirable ways to live. So, what do we do instead? Well, you don't have to overhaul your diet overnight. So, here's a few simple things that you can shift. Build your meals around fatty meat, eggs, and clean proteins. Cook with healthy fats, butter, tallow, coconut oil, and olive oil in dark glass bottles. Make your own dressings at home or choose toppings without seed oils. Pair your carbohydrates with fat and protein in order to slow down blood sugar spikes. These changes are going to, or these changes can often lead to more energy, fewer cravings, better focus and mood, and yes, sometimes even weight loss. Now, we've been misled for a long time, and it is not your fault if you feel like your body is fighting you. The good news is you can start making changes today. If you want more energy, you want fewer blood sugar crashes, you want better sleep, you want a healthier body, the first step might just be to embrace the very thing you've been told to avoid. Fat is not your enemy. In fact, fat might be your answer. My passion is to help mission-driven people achieve their goals by getting their health challenges out of their way so they have the energy they need to accomplish their purpose. If you are interested in seeing if I can help you, please book a free 30-minute discovery call where we'll discuss what your health goals are and we'll decide if what I offer matches what you need and if it makes sense for us to work today. If you're not at that place right now and instead you just like some ways to try to improve your diet, go ahead and scan this QR code or go to this website link, angelwinghealth.com/energy reset recipes. These will provide you with 10 simple, nourishing meal ideas that you can start using this week. You'll also get tips, recipes, and encouragement in your inbox. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today. Have a beautiful day.